Welcome to another installment of Relativity Connections. Please listen all the way to the end for a special announcement we feel sure you will like.
This is me begging you to come on in.
You don't even have to beg, because if it's a relativity thing, you know me, I'm going to be like, oh.
Seriously. All over that action.
Relativity.
So that's what we're doing. We're just gliding in. Then I say, this is Lee Shackleford, and this is another Relativity Connections. And I am talking to two of my favorite people on planet Earth. David S. Deere, the brains behind Ninth World Journal, and Shannon Perry, who I think is a genius, the creator of OZ-9, among other things. And between the two of them, with Karen Heimdahl, would you say, who else is what would you call brains behind Listen, Rinse, Repeat? That was my name. That was my contribution.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
anyway, hi, folks. And thank you so much for just spending a few minutes just talking with me. We're all part of Wi-Fi Sci-Fi, and I have been bummed here recently because just spending some time with the two of you is one of the things I was looking forward to most in this year. And the bloody coronavirus, which Shannon voiced brilliantly for. Yes, you have to make the. Yeah, I wrote a Listen, Rinse, Repeat, in which Shannon was the coronavirus, and that's still one of my favorites.
That was fun.
This is a sidebar, but do you know, because I interrupt myself when I'm talking, but I was listening to one of my favorite classic radio shows, and there was a commercial, period commercial in it from the mid-'40s, and it was a quick message from the flu virus.
Oh,
wow.
And I've heard that commercial before, and I thought, So, that's how creativity works sometimes, right? You hear these things and salt them away, and you don't. Anyway.
Well, I haven't been cured yet, so.
You're still here. I know.
Richard's looking.
Yeah, he's trying to get rid of you. Oh, that's right. And you wrote the series that you and I did together of this married couple who I think are fed up with each other. And when I got those scripts, I said, please tell me this is not autobiographical.
Oh, no, not yet.
Yeah. No, and I have to say that my beautiful, brilliant wife and I consider myself very fortunate because there's literally nobody I'd rather be quarantined with. So,
yeah,
you're in the same situation, David, are you? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. My goal one day is to write the Codependent's Handbook, which she and I could co-author very, very easily, with all these bits of wisdom of how to be completely codependent. Right.
In a positive way.
In a positive way.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Like that. Well, I thought I had the idea that if you got the three of us together on a Zoom, that we would talk about creativity and our shows and stuff like that, and but not having an outline or an agenda or even intelligent questions to ask you. I do realize I've asked you to come out on this tightrope with me. And but there is a net because of editing. Thank you, God, for editing.
If only it worked IRL.
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'd like to hit that rewind so many times. Just scrub back and say, I didn't say that. Especially when you think of the perfect reply an hour later.
Oh my God!
Yes.
I really want to cut that hour out. So
Anytime I look a little bit blurry, that's just cross-dissolved when I've edited out that bit of video footage. And,
right. Yeah. But it's interesting that just really as a coincidence, I was I had some errands to run out and about today with my mask on and everything, and I was listening to the podcasts that are in my queue. So I heard the most recent OZ-9 and the most recent Ninth World Journal. So I didn't even plan it that way, but that's how it worked out. And I'm getting ready to announce when we're going to start releasing relativities again. So I want to make that an event.
Cannot wait.
I'm so glad. Your support means the literal world to me. So. I've been through a dark time here. I sort of got the idea that nobody cares and there's no point of doing this anyway. So
Oh no!
My heart would absolutely snap and break and pulverized if there was not the continuation of relativity, because you know how much I just absolutely love this piece of writing and creation and performance.
Yeah, there's not many shows that I will gobble up. Like literally, as soon as it hits the podcast player on my phone, I'm like, play. Everybody else, bugger off for 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'll be mid some other episode and be like, sorry.
There's a relativity.
There's a relativity.
Music to my ears. Yeah, and I know you're not kidding, because sometimes you'll drop me a comment minutes after I posted it about the episode. I go, well, they're not kidding. They really did. They did jump on it. So, but yeah, and we're so tantalizingly close to the end too that it's been infuriating to have this pandemic stuff, and very weird, of course, to me too. We were just talking about our quarantine here. That since you know the show, you know how weird it's been for me to sometimes be in my office by myself communicating with people over the ether because there's a giant pandemic back. This is just bloody weird.
Yeah. I
did not expect myself to literally be in the position of this character that I wrote, but here we are.
I'm actually 150.
Say again?
I'm 150 years old now.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
That's right.
Thanks for that.
Exactly. So, yeah, at least there isn't that. Yeah, we can still talk live here, even without the total BS relativity compensator.
I love it. I love the whole premise of that. To me is beautiful because it would have to be so quantum in nature and break all the laws of physics as we know it that of course you have to kind of have that stretch for it to be plausible. So it makes it plausible. It's a paradox in a way.
I hope so. Yeah. And we've still got 40 years to prepare, if I'm doing the math right, that it's I think that they left in like 2065 or something like that.
I love that you have like this fairly scientific sounding relativity compensator that gets explained in bits and pieces, and it sounds really good, and there's all this science and there's math you're doing on the backside to figure out the time and everything. Meanwhile, I can't get the planets in the right order. I'm constantly getting in trouble for being like, why? How are you here? You were over there.
You said Jupiter and you said Mercury. You do know how far apart those are.
Apparently not.
Yeah. How fast are they going? Yeah, I know.
It's a comedy.
For people who don't know, and shame on you if you're not listening to OZ-9 and a Ninth World Journal. I mean, for one thing, you don't know what we're talking about, do you? So put us on pause, as my friend Kyle Jones liked to say. Go out, listen to all of OZ-9 and all of Ninth World Journal, and then come back and pick up this conversation. But both of you have a license to play with your worlds. See, I committed to kind of a straight and narrow, apart from the compensator, which is BS. I have tried to hew to actual science and physics, and at least the best speculative fiction about what a ship that's supposed to be, going through space for 20 years would be like. Right. But Janeway disappears and he reappears somewhere else because we said so, and now he is in a world where we have to learn all the rules, and you've upped the game here recently where the places he goes are getting odder and odder, which I think is just a lot of fun.
Now you said you're caught up?
Yeah.
Okay, so the spoiler is on this.
Yeah.
If you're caught up, then it's not a spoiler, but
spoilers.
Spoilers.
I'm so used to that now, hearing that in the Relativity Connections. The thing about that is I really did have to do plotting and mathing, and I did one of those kind of Gantt chart style timeline things because Sayun is chasing Janeway or pursuing Janeway. So I had to time it for her travel to get from one place to the next.
Right.
While Janeway is going from one place to the next. So I really did have to, and I had to adjust how long Janeway was in certain places or how long it took him to get to certain places or her to get to certain places. I had to squeeze, because some things were non-negotiable and other things were, and I had to make the negotiables fit the non-negotiable. So yeah, in a twist, there was some planning. I wasn't able to just wing it and Ninth World style.
Right. You painted yourself into a corner.
Yeah. So I had to paint myself out.
Well, especially since for a time he was in a place where time itself was uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was curious to see how that would affect the way that would appear to anybody else outside of that place. So, I don't know. I'm still skeptical about killing somebody in that place and burying them, and because I think there's no reason why they can't just be there again the next day.
Yeah.
But which it's good to give yourself these.
And that in that episode I grappled with the most of as far as how far was I pushing it? How far was I going outside the box, and how could I avoid Deus ex machina?
Yeah.
For that particular thing. But the rule of Ninth World is, and even when you're running that game as a tabletop RPG, they always say don't explain everything, because it's a weird world where billions of years and massive civilizations have messed things up so badly. There's no way you can conceive of why things happen the way they do. And that was one of those where I had to pull that weird card, which felt like cheating.
No, but yeah.
But I guess it works. I mean, I let the drama be the weight of it, the star of the meal, as it were.
Yeah. So, Lee, if I can ask, do you have a date for the next release, or not quite yet?
I do, but I'm sitting on it.
Okay.
Jesus, a little longer.
Yeah. How long has this year been already? It's June as we're recording this, right? This year has been about 6 years long, hasn't it? At this point,
at least.
But we were talking about creative process and about setting up the rules for our shows. It would be easy to say that OZ-9 doesn't have any rules, but that's not true. There are characters who have to be consistent unto themselves.
That's true.
And we can play with where they are geographically because it doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, it's funny to say that you got the ship in the wrong place, but who cares?
Exactly. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. I kind of gave myself that permission by setting it in space, making the ship massive. Like this is basically a large floating city. So we have this huge ship to play around in. We have lots of frozen people to thaw out and play with. So I gave myself a little bit. And it turns out I didn't need as much permission as I thought I might. I haven't used those Joker cards as much as I expected to.
Oh, and there's thousands of them.
Oh, yeah. I haven't.
But you've got them in your pocket.
Yeah, you got all those pods. No, yeah, as somebody else had said, you can kill off all of the main characters in your show and just hatch out some new ones.
Yep.
Why not?
And nothing is off the table, quite literally. So, which is fun. Also, I think it my cast is always like, I hear the interviews that we did between seasons, and everybody's like, yeah, I really expected to be killed off really like within 2 episodes. Somehow
Why
I'm
am I still here? Yeah.
Because I like you and your character's fun. And
I think the bigger question for all of us in Wi-Fi sci-fi and maybe all of science fiction, audio fiction is why does the Ninth World Journal have a snarky artificial intelligence in it? Because all the rest of us do.
Right.
So get with it.
I know. I do need one. There's space for it, of course.
Yeah, that's right. There's
a whole data sphere and stuff like that in the Ninth World. And I just bought one of their supplements called Voices of the Data Sphere that I've not read yet. But I don't know. I don't think there's room for it in this story arc. But I don't know. I have to break the rules.
Who knows?
Outlier.
I think the part of the fun too is the permission I've given myself to be snarky on social media. Like, I'm a fairly nice person. I don't like conflict. I like people to like me. But Olivia doesn't give
Olivia doesn't care. No. Right. Yeah, I do love that conceit, and I kind of wish that I had thought of it as well. That you have several Twitter accounts. Well, you don't, but characters of the show.
Yeah.
So you're tweeting not as yourself, but as Olivia.
It works so beautifully. It's just that response on, especially those Twitter comments in Olivia's voice they're just rich. You feel like you feel like OZ-9 is still playing outside of just listening to an episode, which I think
that's right.
Well, actually, I could ask you guys this question because this is something we kind of talked about and then decided it didn't matter because we're OZ-9. But there are things that are happening on Twitter that are not necessarily part of the story arc. And so when you do like mini episodes or Patreon episodes, things like that, do you what do you think about going off arc? Or do you try and make it part of the story because not everybody's going to have access? How do you do that?
So you're asking, are your tweets OZ-9 canon?
Oh, no, hell no.
Okay.
I know they're not. My brother Eric's doing weird things with Joe all the time. That's just like, what are you doing? But then I'll grab him and co-opt him into the story because he's very funny. So why not?
Right.
That's where the sandwiches came from, was Eric doing silly things on Twitter. But no, more for you guys. If you do bonus content, how much do you think it needs to reflect the story arc, the characters, be consistent?
Yeah, I when we were committed to writing a special episode for Wi-Fi Sci-Fi, and then as part of our fundraising, we did yet another special episode that was part of our bonus content. Yeah, I wanted it all to fit into continuity.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty important for the way Relativity runs.
Yeah.
I think it would be, I don't think it's impossible, but I think it would be challenging to try to do something that was standalone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In a way.
Yeah. I mean, you can always set it before or,
Yeah. I mean, like DJ did he's like doing the Before the Moon and those kind of things.
Yeah, we're talking about DJ Silvas and Moonbase Theta Out. So also gotten to be a great friend with them as a result of all this. So, but yeah, Deej is now taking us back to all the events leading up to that original countdown.
Right.
And we've got now some backstory on Janeway, and we've gotten backstory on what's happening on OZ-9. So you're all digging that stuff up. So anyway.
And it's actually kind of fun. I have some more mini episodes coming up because it's so refreshing to not I have now a massive cast of 12 people, and Eric plays like 4 characters, so I have a lot of folks. And so it's nice to kind of pull out mini episodes with just 2 to 3 characters talking together. It's you can do a lot more character development that way.
Yeah.
Right? So that's super fun, and I really like doing those. And like I said, it doesn't matter if we go off arc. I think in our mini episode that we did for Patreon, I basically hinted that I killed everybody. Wormhole.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
They're there for that reason.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's like a weird little escape hatch.
Yeah, that's true. You
Storyline
set up
escape hatch.
your rules on OZ-9 include that you can turn it off and turn it on again.
In our world, sound travels in space.
But because of OZ-9, the way it's written, people are extremely forgiving about anything you do. I mean, you can seriously kill a character off and then have them come back making breakfast like nothing ever happened, with no explanation as to that, and people will be good with it. It's just it's so well done. The license is so broad that and they would adore that even.
Well, and Shannon, I think you and I are very much alike in this, that we're willing to buy anything in science fiction or fantasy as long as there's some effort being made at giving an explanation.
Yeah.
Even if it's a far out one. So I can imagine that you would bring somebody back who had previously been killed off, and then you would make sure there was a throwaway line about how they got back.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
to make sure
That's so much fun.
That's I mean, that would be how I'd solve that.
You do it time and time again in OZ-9. You can see all those places where Shannon said, "I need to explain this somehow." Nobody else asked her to, and nobody else would even care or notice. But you can tell that she went, "I'm going to explain this somehow," and that makes great storylines. The storylines kind of continue from that.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, that's the glory of comedy.
Yeah,
you do get extra license.
Well, I teach script writing, which may be an arrogant presumption of mine, but I do it anyway.
Not at all.
Comedy is it's like the last thing we do, because I say everything you've done so far is building up to this, because this is the hardest thing to do. And it's one of the reasons why I admire what you do so very much, because I know that you write very quickly and it's funny, and not everybody can do that. I think if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't do that. Well, that would be a terrible way to do it.
Unless it says bang or something. Maybe.
Right, yes. If a flag comes out that says bang. Yeah.
But to flip it back the other way, I am so conflict avoidant in my real life that it translates to the way I write. And so I tend to rush conflict very, very fast. If I have to do a serious conflict, I hate it. It makes me tense. Yeah. I can feel it. I just kind of gut through it as fast as I can. And then it always reads like, wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
And now we're okay. So I have the reverse problem. Conflict is really hard for me.
Whereas Dave and I like to get down there and just grind on it.
I like to stick my finger in the wound. Exactly. Conflict? Oh, yeah. Here we go.
There you go.
January,
conflict.
you're down and out. I'm going to crap out of you even more now.
Say, I don't know what. I think it's funny that you seem to hate this guy, but.
Seriously.
I adore him.
Yeah.
I really do. He's not that. I personally don't know if he's all that likable, but I like him.
I don't know if I'd want to have a beer with him or not, but yeah. No, you and I talked about this before, our love-hate relationship with Chris and January, that we seem to enjoy inflicting injury on them, but
if you could meet IRL, one of the characters in your shows, who would you want to meet?
That's a good question.
I want to meet the captain who is gone.
Oh, Captain Sedana, me too.
That Chris is in love with. I so want to meet her.
Yeah.
And with Ninth World Journal, I think I want to meet, what's his name? The guy who messes with Cleambala all the time.
Calred?
Calred.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would too, so I could punch him in the nose.
Yeah, I kind of want to punch him and I kind of want to buy him a beer. I can't
do. I
decide.
know, the snarkiness of him.
Yeah, because he's snarky, and you feel like I want this guy on my team, so it's not aimed at me.
But
I think I could have a really enjoyable party with just Captain Jesse. I think.
And I would have a delightful time having a meal with the Bichon Frise.
It might be your last.
I don't know why. It might, and I would be willing to take the chance of not getting. But the thing is, I don't know that he's competent enough to really.
Well, that's it. He doesn't seem to be very good at what he does.
I feel like I could distract him, and he would not even bother.
Yeah.
But it would just be endless entertainment for me to just watch him try to reason things out. And I could have a beer with Chris. I like Chris.
I like Chris.
He's a good down-to-earth guy. He's got that kind of real interesting, pithy way of seeing the world.
yeah.
In fact, I could have a beer with any of the folks on ground.
Sophia, Marcus, yeah.
Yeah, all those people. I'm
not sure about Sophia for me. She's a little dry and a little too aloof, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens in these next few episodes. See if she...
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
See if she doesn't lighten up a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. It could happen.
Feed us, Seymour.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does it have to be blood?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
It feels kind of like it has been, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We made a commitment to be somewhere else at this time, so I want to be respectful of that. But thanks you so much for talking to me.
Absolute pleasure.
Anytime.
You guys are great.
So a nice little
again.
surrogate for the Wi-Fi sci-fi.
That's it. Yeah, this is as close as we're going.
There you go.
Yeah, it's an
very
also
quickly.
Ram,
Very, very quickly, let's do the how do people find you and do all that. So if people who want to hear OZ-9.
Yeah, we're at oz-9.com and OZ-9 Podcast on Twitter and all the major podcatchers.
And they can follow you on Twitter at OZ-9 Olivia.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. That's true. If you want the snark.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to have the snark.
And a Ninth World Journal.
You can find me at ninthworldjournal.com. That's all spelled out word-wise. On Twitter, it's the number 9th World Journal.
Thanks again, guys.
And now, the special announcement we promised.
We've traveled together for years, but at last, we're approaching our destination. Relativity, the final episodes. Beginning July 20th, 2020, wherever you get your podcasts.
If you enjoy space adventures featuring brave and competent astronauts,
can you give me a countdown to be ready? 3, 2, 1.
if you enjoy podcasts that are culturally sensitive,
I've been labeling stuff aboard the ship with Post-its so she can learn our language.
I speak English, you bloody.
if you enjoy shows with sophisticated humor,
Well, that's just rude.
It's her spacesuit.
then you may not want to listen to OZ-9. But if you simply enjoy giggling,
You Anglais, so snooty about all the everythings.
OZ-9 may be the show for you. Get it wherever you find the other shows you like to put in your ears. That title is spelled OZ-9. You could certainly do worse.
This is a Ninth World Journal. A careless experiment with a teleportation device has left me stranded in random places throughout the Ninth World. While trying to survive in these strange lands, I must find a way to reverse my condition.
A Ninth World Journal is a science fantasy audio drama podcast. Subscribe to listen or visit ninthworldjournal.com.
A, B, C, D, E, F this. If I have to sing this stupid song one more time.
Good news, you don't. A group of podcast types have come together to bring you this collection of 20-second stories, interviews, and other ear candy to wash your hands by. Stay safe, stay well, and listen, rinse, repeat.
Listen, rinse, repeat podcast.com.